I think overall finding your passion, what you really love, because at the end of the day, sometimes I don't even work. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing something that I really love. Being able
Wow.
to share your talent to other people and then seeing their overall reaction when the venue's done is one of the most priceless thing that I could receive from my clients. And that's a
Yeah.
real paycheck to me.
I can just picture, little 13-year-old Arianna walking up to a client, holding the contract in their face. It's not in the contract, buddy. Lay off.
And I know a lot of people sometimes have bad days even when they're working. And I think that not giving up is one of my main goals. I want to be mentally good. If I want to keep working and live long and live a good life, and I just need to prioritize myself as an entrepreneur too.
Wow.
Hi, this is Arianna Guzman, and you're listening to my story. I'm a freshman here majoring in global business at Troy University. I am from Albertville, Alabama, and I am the founder of Ari Designs that specializes in event planning, venue decor, florist, and e-commerce store.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. I'm Ryan, a co-founder of Student Made and host of this show, Making It Creative. Today's episode is a creator story episode, which means we'll be taking a deep dive into the journey of one creative entrepreneur from within our Student Made community, how she initially started exploring this idea when she decided to turn it into a business, how her college campus comes into play, and of course, how the Student Made community is helping fuel her growth. The main focus of this episode is going to be on allowing your culture and values to shape the mission of your business and always keeping what matters most at the forefront of your brand. You can read Arianna's story, as well as all our past creator features on the stories page of our website, studentmadestore.com, which will be linked in the show notes. So before we get started, I would just like to give a big thank you to our partner and sponsor for this episode, the Idea Bank at Troy University, part of the Sorrell College of Business. So here's a little bit about them. Located in downtown Troy, we are dedicated to providing aspiring business visionaries with resources, mentorship, and collaborative opportunities to transform their ideas into successful, sustainable enterprises. By fostering creativity, knowledge exchange, and a supportive community, we create an empowering hub of entrepreneurial resources. One really cool program I'd like to shout out from the Idea Bank is the Dartboard program. It stands for the Design and Art Resource by Troy, which connects budding entrepreneurs in need of creative services to student designers who can help bring their brand to life, fostering collaboration there. So Dartboard designers will have opportunities to earn a stipend from the Idea Bank for their work supporting the startup process of a business, while entrepreneurs in need of these creative services can submit their requests and receive their first service completely free of charge, which I think is just a great program. Gives the real world learning to the student there and free resources to young entrepreneurs. So, and then of course, Student Made. So Troy's Idea Bank launched a Student Made branch about 2 years back now, which is how we came to know Arianna here. A very special connection that gave us. With that, we will dive into the episode. So, diving into our first of 3 main sections of this episode. First, we're going to be looking at your background, just of yourself, and then the background of starting your business too. So,
Okay.
without really getting into your business quite yet, I really wanted to start with just the main pillars, I would say, that eventually came to support your business and define your business's mission, which were really just big parts of your life growing up, which I found so
Yeah.
interesting in your story that really you were most proud of, that meant the most to you, and just kind of really shaped what you valued and eventually wanted to bring into a business. And I know coming from an immigrant family was a big part of that you mentioned, the hard work, the resilience, the creating opportunities from scratch, all of those things. Just starting with a little background on your family, where did your family come from? What was that experience seeing them growing up? What kinds of things your parents were doing, professionally or just personally in family life?
So, watching my parents work so hard to build a better future was something that I learned from a young age. They originally came from Mexico. And to me, them coming here to the US without being able to speak English or anything really made me overall become the person that I am today. Back then, one of our biggest struggles was being financially stable. And then with that, it made me pursue my entrepreneurship side and overall creating a business. That way I could be financially stable in the future and building something.
Yeah. Well, entrepreneurship is so popular and I think just successful with immigrant families, with
Mm-hmm,
immigrant, founders. I
mm-hmm,
think I think in a lot of ways it's like it's created out of necessity
mm-hmm,
because you are like I have to forge my own path, my own opportunities. And it is true they say that immigrant founders are more successful, just more resilient. All of the values that go into entrepreneurship align so much with just the life experience with that. And a big part of your culture and your upbringing, and this I think was really the main mission statement of your business today, is creating special opportunities, memorable experiences. You said how being part of a smaller community growing up really allowed you to see the value of connection and meaningful moments.
mm-hmm.
This business started about 10 years ago, you said, which would put you at around 9 years old. Is that right? Or at
Yes.
least the first
Mm-hmm.
concept, maybe not the official
Yes.
business, but you're a freshman now. So what,
Mm-hmm.
19? Okay. So around 9 years old, you were getting the inspiration for this
Yes.
with some help of your parents, I know at that point. And as you said, around 14, I think is when it like really became a business.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably, not even being able to drive yet, having some help of your
Yes.
parents is crucial. What I mean, so being a 9 year old, 10 year old, and saying, I want to provide these things for people. Like, where did that come from for you? Like, did you see this? Was your family having these types of celebrations, or did you have a family member that was big in like event planning or design, or what was the background inspiration of this?
So the background inspiration came from what I mentioned earlier. We wanted to have something that was financially stable for us, something that we
Yeah.
enjoyed, something that could create lasting memories. And that came with me and
Hmm.
my mom both creating designs. We first started off doing like balloon arches, balloon backdrops, and then so on for the first 10 years. I think it was like for the first 4 years that we started to do that. And then always as I grew older, I started to be more committed to the business and we started adding more services. We started investing more. Anything that we made off like little small things, we would reinvest into material, which is now we have like about 7 warehouses full of inventory, full of chairs. Recently, we also did a big export shipment from China, a big container full of inventory. My mom was actually, since I was in school, my mom actually took a trip to China and she was able to bring a lot of new inventory from there. And then now we can offer varieties of chairs and other good materials. And with that, like I said, this is where it came from, like from years and years of reinvesting. And overall, we just really grew into the business, trying to provide like good quality, professionalism, and overall being able to bring people's idea to life. I'll have a lot of clients come in and they don't know absolutely anything when it comes to planning a party or any of their celebrations, whether it's a wedding, quinceañera, a birthday party, or anything. So I always like to provide the consultants for them, what they need, what would they like, if they have a
Yeah.
budget or not. And not only that, but providing them some tips like, like how many guests you're having and stuff like that, helping them overall.
Well, that's some great background on the business. And okay, so your mom was a big part of this business early on. It wasn't
Yes,
totally
correct.
your idea that you were like, my parents are going to help me out with it. It was like you were joining. Your mom had kind of already started this and been doing this. That is that right?
Yeah, because like I said, we grew into it together. And then as I grew older, most of the things that I had to do, just because they don't speak English, I had to
Yeah.
like always be on top of things, like connect clients, talk to clients, consultations. our suppliers. I have to text them, email them, call them,
Yeah.
any of the things. And then she will take more of obviously the Hispanic side. Our
Right.
clients are speak Spanish. Now our business is really diverse. So I take more of like people that speak English just because obviously my
Right.
parents really couldn't take that side. So we just kept
Yeah.
expanding. That kind of makes sense.
Wow. That's like, I think a lot of family businesses where like, younger family members come in and start helping out.
Hmm.
I picture like what can they really do? Like what's, what can you do at 9 years old? But in your
Hmm.
case, being able to speak a whole nother language, that
Hmm.
adds a whole nother side to the clientele the business can take on. That's I'm
Hmm.
like, what a major what a major help that was. Like
Yes.
that is crucial. And just the fact that you were learning English here made that much of a difference. That's so cool to hear. I don't think at 9, I mean, I wouldn't have really been able to do anything from I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm not even as good at speaking English as my parents are or whatever, like I can't
Hmm.
be of much help, but it's cool you were able to make such an impact there. I guess the last point I wanted to ask here was just from an advice standpoint, because I think a lot of founders out there, want to start a business, like that is the motivation. And whether for, because a certain industry you can make a lot of money in, or they just want to be a founder and be their own boss. And I think from your story, you came at it from such a meaningful angle of like you wanted to create these impacts and these experiences and these
Hmm.
outcomes, not just have a business. So is there anything you can say to that from an advice standpoint of like starting something from a more meaningful place? If people are listening and wanting to be a founder, like what should they really focus on instead of just like either making money side or the working for yourself side? Is there something more, I don't know, more
Hmm.
solid they should be jumping off from?
I think overall finding your passion, what you really love, because at the end of the day, sometimes I don't even work. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing something that I really love. So at the end of the day, all of the sleepless nights, the tiredness, everything, I think like I enjoy it because I'm doing something that I love. So I don't see it like as dreading. I see it as something that will continue to push me and I really love it. And I think if someone that's starting entrepreneurship, I think they should also be able to see that being your own boss doesn't mean that you're going to have more time free. Regardless of
Mm,
that, like you're going to have to be more busy. You're going to have to work like the saying 24/7. You're going to have to work a little bit more than a regular job.
yeah.
And to me, I love that. I love what I do. So to me, like, it's not really about making the money. Sometimes it's like just doing what you love and being able
Wow.
to share your talent to other people and then seeing their overall reaction when the venue's done is one of the most priceless thing that I could receive from my clients and all the
Oh, I'm sure.
feedback and everything. To me, that's
Yeah.
a real like paycheck. That's a real paycheck.
Wow.
When they tell me like everything's beautiful, when they start crying, when they see the venue, that to me, that's a real paycheck.
Wow. I'm sure you get a lot of tears in your
Yeah.
industry. So
Yes,
a
for
lot of
sure.
little money, better than money signs, those tears flowing down
Hmm.
faces. And it's cool because like we were saying earlier about, immigrants and entrepreneurship, a lot of times like it does really come from a
Hmm.
necessity standpoint of like needing to make money and needing to
Hmm.
survive,
Yes. Hmm.
which I know you talked about, like finding something that was financially sustainable, which means like the money really does matter. But even with that, it sounds like you found something, that's more special than the money. Even though the money's important, of course, you found a greater motivation, which is great because it doesn't mean that you're not making money. It doesn't mean that money's
Hmm.
not important and you don't need to profit, because you sure still do, but it doesn't have to be the daily focus of like, this is why I'm staying up all night, because I have to make that paycheck or
Hmm.
whatever. So I think that's cool. And
Hmm.
it's always important to like not cast aside the money side. Like obviously businesses need to sustain themselves financially. So all right, so that was good. That was some good background setup growing up in Albertville, Alabama, and then
Sure.
jumping over to Troy,
Yeah.
Alabama. we've been lucky to visit twice now.
Mhm.
Big part of that was for the retail store, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I know attending Troy and even attending college at all was not really a big part of your plan initially.
Mhm.
Is that right? You were kind of considering this more classic entrepreneurship path of, who needs education? I got a business.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't really a part of my plan at first. Just because we were in a good position with the business. We're always busy every single weekend, booked and everything. And I at first didn't see like that I should really go to, to a 4-year college
Yeah.
and leave the business behind basically.
And okay, so the question I was wondering a minute ago about like ownership. So if who's like, are you in charge of the business now? Is it mostly yours? Is it mostly your family's, and you're like, running a side like a side of it, or how does it? What's the distribution of that now?
So right now, just because like with time management with school and everything, like I said, we come with this business years and years ago. So we're
Yeah,
able to perfectly like stable things and everything. So right now, the majority of it is my mom and I.
gotcha.
Yes, I still
Okay.
do consultations with customers and everything, but mainly on the weekends. That's where we're booked on the weekends. So I come back from
Yeah.
Troy every single weekend to do the events, help them, and overall
Okay.
do all of the events. And then during the weekday, we have other workers that come and help set up everything, like get everything prepared in the trailers, load our trailer to clean
Gotcha.
everything. And then my mom and my dad, they both like, we have consultants with clients, then they're the ones that take care of that. Or I have clients
Okay.
that need to talk to me just because of English wise, then I do that during
Yeah.
the week on the phone call or on the weekends over there. Because we have a small venue located here in Boaz, Alabama. It's like 15 minutes from Albertville. So when I come back
Okay.
from Troy every single weekend, I go to my venue and I go ahead and start consulting with my clients and everything.
Interesting. Okay, because if you look at your Instagram, it's all you. It's all
Hmm.
Ari all over that page, and videos of you, and then the business, of course, is called Ari's Designs, after, I assume, after your name, unless is your mom Arianna as well.
Actually, the first name, well, the way how the company's actually registered is, and this was like 6 years ago now. I think the company was registered 6 years ago. The past 6 years, the company has been named Decoraciones Ari, as it's in Spanish. But
Uh,
I wanted to change the name to something more like that I could actually grow the name into a brand because
yeah,
on in the future I don't want Ari's Design just to be about event planning. I want it to be something else. So that's why I named it Ari's Designs, just because I want it to be more like kind of diverse, with the designs, and then Ari. Sort of
yeah,
like I wanted to change it more to an English name instead of
yeah.
like a
Okay.
Spanish name.
And what was the registered name there in Spanish?
Decoraciones Ari. It's still the same thing. Decoraciones is decorations.
Like
And then
decorations. Okay,
Ari,
I was gonna guess that.
decorations by
Yeah,
Ari. But I
got it.
personally, I mean, this was like when we first started, like it wasn't anything. So now that we're growing, I want it to be something more kind of professional, more be able for someone to pronounce. That's why I wanted to name it Ari's Designs.
Okay. And is it did you officially change the name to Ari Designs, or is that more of just your doing business as name, but it's still registered as?
Business as, yes. Yes, I do want to change it
Okay.
though, for sure.
Got it. Okay. Well, I mean, at least it doesn't matter so much if the more public name out there is Ari's Designs, like whatever it
Hmm.
is on the piece of paper, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
too much, I guess. Let's try my pronunciation. Okay. Decoraciones de Ari. See?
Decoraciones Ari. Close. Decoraciones Ari.
Decoraciones Ari. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right. So you're at Troy, and all of our students we feature on this show are, well, of course, full-time students. I should say all the businesses we feature are full-time students as well.
Hmm.
Um, which is great. I'm glad you're at Troy because it's how we met you, and we never would have met you
Hmm.
otherwise. And I'm sure there is part of you that's, of course, like, well, if I wasn't in school all this time, I could be giving all my time to the business and it would be growing faster. I'm sure, hopefully, there are some advantages you've seen of being at Troy and being a student and doing this at the same time. Can you speak to that, like being part of the Idea Bank, your major there, just the culture of Troy? Like, what has it been like being part of that, and how has it maybe benefited your business?
Yeah, so Troy has definitely brought me so many connections. I have met so many business owners, small business, and Troy has honestly given that opportunity to me to be able to apply into my business and be able to network, like for example, student made. Like I was able to
Mm,
be with the group of people that I like being with, which is like business owners, that entrepreneurship mindset, being able to talk to them and make that connections forever because at the end of the day, we're both like everybody's in the same business side, so I'm able
yeah,
to network off them and give advice to them, and then them also give advice to me. And I just feel like
I love that.
majoring in global business entrepreneurship in Troy has definitely opened my mind more on how to better structure my business financially and with everything. One of the programs there, the pitch competition, and now it's pitch to practice, which allows students that participated in the pitch competition to be able to attend pitch to practice, which is a program where they provide us with financial assistance and being able to talk to real bankers, CPAs, and our professors.
Mm,
So they have provided me so much help, and overall, whenever I need help with deciding things for my business, they always provide me with feedback and more of like financial ideas that I could possibly better in my
wow.
business.
Seeking that out outside of a college might be difficult if you needed like business advice. I mean, I guess you have like a local chamber of commerce or something, but
Mm-hmm.
it would might be hard to get that kind of input, if you weren't at a school like Troy and not in the business school. Was the global business influenced by kind of, as you said, China sourcing a lot of, products from there? Your mom took a visit there. Was that kind of inspired? Was it like supply chain oriented? Is that what,
Yes,
where
correct.
global business came
Yes.
from? Okay.
Yeah, because in the future, I would like to turn Ari's design into a brand material for event planning. So I would like to have in the
Uh,
future, like, I specialize in curtain draping. So in the future, I would like to create that brand and in event planning, basically. So provide
gotcha.
and wholesale or, with my manufacturers for flowers, centerpieces, drapings, chairs, and products for event planning.
Okay. Wow. So like the whole side of it, the whole process from like materials to the
Yes. Mm-hmm.
event,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I'd
Yes.
love to get into that more in a second. I feel like that makes a good fit for our building for the future section. So we will
Mm-hmm.
put that on pause for a second and love to come back to that. Um, so student made, as you mentioned, being around other founders, you said in your story that, you know, it not only helps you promote your business and be part of this community, but everyone around you is building something meaningful. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
that word meaning has been a big theme of this story already and is a big part of your journey. Just tell me about why it's meaningful to you that you're around people that have something meaningful to them. What does it mean to you, if you know what I mean? Okay, I won't say mean again.
Mm-hmm.
That would just be mean to these listeners.
So, what makes student made so meaningful to me is being surrounded by students who are passionate about building something bigger than themselves. Everyone comes from different backgrounds and experiences, but we all share, at the end of the day, the same drive to create, grow, and make an impact in our own way or with our business.
Do you have any standouts beside yourself, of course, that you have been inspired by, that you've noticed other Troy students like building something really meaningful to them that they just feel so passionately about, and you're like, wow, their mission is so cool, or like their energy is so cool?
Yeah, so one of our a creator actually in student made that when I first got there last semester, I was looking at her branding and what she made and what she specialized in. And I was so like impressed like how well marketed her business was. And I was like, yeah, like I want to be here at Student Made. Like I want to be able to better brand my business name and stuff like kind
Mm,
of like how she did, but in my own way. And hers was Beat It Bella. And I love how like her
Yeah.
business was like wrapped around so well with what she did and overall her branding. And I was like, and I actually was able to talk to her a lot, and now we made a good connection. And I was able to learn from her like why and like her also her story and everything, how she was able to
Yeah.
market her brand and how like Student Maid and Troy like impacted her business.
Gotcha. Okay, Beaded Bella, was that Isabella
Yes, Isabella
Stokes? Izzy
Stokes.
Stokes?
Yes, Stokes.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And so the standout there was like her branding. I know she wants to have a storefront one day. We met her on one visit to Troy, and she was
Mm-hmm.
saying how I think even on the square there where the Idea Bank is on the downtown square, she wanted to have a storefront eventually one day. I don't know if is she a senior this year? She might be
Yes,
graduating.
yes. I think she already graduated.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So maybe that's, not immediate, but maybe she'll be back to Troy in the near future.
Yes.
So we mentioned the retail store of Troy, and I know that's been a big part of your experience there. Kind of connecting this back to our last creator episode, we had a creator and manager from James Madison on, Julia Kelly, and she talked a lot about, yes, she's a business owner, but she also is on the manager team. And
Mm-hmm.
so seeing all these other businesses and getting to support them really stood out to her, like really meant a lot to her. And then her future idea, she's graduating too. Her future
Mm-hmm.
idea, she wants to continue this concept of Student Made by basically opening a boutique in the future, probably in
Mm-hmm.
Richmond, Virginia, and feature other small businesses and like help them grow and help them, market themselves and things. And I think there's a parallel to you with that being a retail manager.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about this other side of your experience being a manager, getting to support and see so many other student businesses grow, and then what's entailed specifically in your manager role.
Yeah, so being a retail manager at the Idea Bank, well, to begin with, I handle a lot of inventory on my side with the event planning. So one of the main things why I wanted to be a student-made manager with the retail side was because of that. And I was able to help
Mm,
new students or new creators come in with their new inventory, new products. Sometimes we had some students that were not lost but didn't know exactly like what to do with their creation that they designed, because most of our creators at the Idea Bank either hand make stuff, a lot of people crochet, do paintings,
yeah,
bracelets, so they do that but they don't know like outside of that like branding and putting pricing even too. I always like to help
yeah,
them or like see their calculations and stuff. And I feel like I have a lot of experience with that. Pricing also because I do bouquets, so I have to price
right,
varieties of flowers, size, and everything. And I handle a lot of inventory, so I feel like each creator, each business owner should be able to do that themselves. So I then
mm,
created a creator catalog for them where they would have to keep up with their inventory. And not only that, but showing them like responsibility, being able to manage their own inventory, track their sales, their income, and everything
yeah,
that they make. So I think that with that, I was able to help them in a way where they could be more responsible with their business and seeing the other side of financial, basically.
that's a huge help. That is like
Mm-hmm.
major, man. I didn't even know you did that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Lynn is very thankful for that, the director of the Idea Bank. And
Yes,
I know she
Arianna.
she oversees, yes, and Rihanna Thompson, totally. That is like exactly what we want. It sounds like you're doing partially the finance manager role, because that's something we're always pushing is like help students, track their inventory, track their profit, figure out their pricing
Yes.
strategy. You're doing a lot of that and bringing a lot of real tangible background that you have to this role. So that's really cool. So covered a bit of student made there, which is great, and then just bringing it back to lessons you've learned through your own business experience. Before we move on to our next section, building for the future, and talking about your future goals and dreams, in these episodes we usually pick out like some key topics to focus in on. A lot of times it's social media content, how important that is for creating a brand and marketing. Sometimes it's about like rebranding as your business evolves. Sometimes it's time management, being a student and a founder. You, in your story, outlined some really cool lessons. I thought they were like, they just seemed like big, important things to me. One thing you said, setting clear boundaries with clients. I was like, I don't think I've ever really seen that outlined in a creator story before. And then how crucial organization, communication, and professionalism are. And then third, understanding the importance of having structure within a business. All three things, I was like, we could probably have an episode on each of these.
Yeah.
I think there's enough to talk about there. But yeah, and you said, how early on not having these things, understandably, at 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, created a lot of stress and challenges for you. So take us through kind of that learning process, learning on the fly why these things are important, and then just purely for our entertainment at your expense, any disaster stories or chaos stories that ensued from not having these things quite together early on.
Yeah, so I can talk definitely about the experience with that and learning from the mistakes. So back to event planning. When we had our events, for example, like a wedding, I'd have my clients come in and then overall like talk what they need, and they're like, yes, I want all the tablecloths, the glass cups, centerpieces, and we're talking about something very luxurious, right? And then
Yeah.
and the napkins, and then the backdrop. I want another backdrop here. I want a flower arch. I want this and this and this, right? I'm like, okay, I have all of that. We figured out the colors, everything. And then I give him the total price, everything's going good. The deposit's made. And then the day of the event, we set up everything, and then I'll make sure everything that is out that we put in our list. And then turns out one of our clients come and she's like, hey, I think we're missing this. And then I'm like, no, like we have everything written here. Like, I don't think there's a mistake, So
Yeah.
learning from that, obviously some people are not going to take it well. Some people are going to, say all these things because we didn't provide it. But having the contract, because now we do contracts, and before like closing, I make sure that you have to read over everything that's written, because sometimes they might say that I want this, right? But if it's not in our contract and then you looked over it and signed it, then technically we didn't miss something. So
Totally.
One of the things that we are really crucial is the contracts, because usually events are planned, a year, 6 months in advance. Like, what are you going to remember here in a year, 6 months, what you talked about, So having our contracts are the ways that we as business owners defend ourselves. Like, if it's not in a contract, then there's nothing we can do. And not only that, but other small things that we require when we have to go clean up for the events, pick up and stuff, and deposits, non-refundable, and other small things like that with business, and also like insurance and stuff like that with the venue. We're not responsible for damages happening in a venue. We're not responsible for lost items. We're not, we don't take responsibility in that. So all of that is stated in our contract. But that's years from experience, learning, and other things like that. So now we're more stable than ever.
I can just picture, little 13-year-old Arianna walking up to a client, holding the contract in their face. It's not in the contract, buddy. Lay off. That's hilarious. And it kind of sounds, like that language you just mentioned almost sounds harsh in a way. And I can imagine as a new business, you're like, you don't want to upset clients, you don't want to offend them.
Exactly.
So you don't want to put any language, but you learn once or twice, probably only once is all you need. And you're like, I'm making that clear going forward. We are not responsible for this. It is not refundable, that's a contract. And you can still be nice, obviously, in person.
Yes.
You don't have
That's
to
where
talk to clients
professionalism
like
comes
that.
in.
But yeah, balance of like, yes, our expectations are clearly communicated. It's very clear. This is legally binding, but I'm also gonna have a smile and be very nice and polite, and of course
Yes.
try to like accommodate you the best I can. You don't want to just be all business, like, but it's a balance. That is a constant, as you said, like years of refining that. Really interesting. So was it not in the contract? So were you not on the hook for that thing you missed, or were you? That was your guys' fault.
So no, yeah, definitely. Like, obviously, we had some mistakes in the past, and that's where we learned from that. Like, for example, when we didn't
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
contract, and it was basically like either text message or verbal,
Okay.
because I would do the events through text message and everything. So obviously, it's really hard to gather up
Mm,
everything that. So sometimes, yes, I would miss something, and obviously, my
yeah.
team and I would go back to our warehouse, get it, and come back to the event and put it. But it was such a hassle, like time. Like, we have to go back, gas, and then putting it back.
Uh,
So
yeah,
that's where we learned, like, let's have a formal, contract, have everything stated clearly if something's missing,
yeah, yeah.
or if they say that we're missing something, but there's not proof that we actually missed something, then we have the contract to go back to, because sometimes we have clients like that, like,
Totally.
oh, you're missing this and this and this. And I'm just like, what? Like, and I just look back at the contract and I'm just like, being professionalism, and then tell
Yeah.
them like, hey, I don't think we're missing something because it's not on the contract.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Stressful though. Events
Yeah.
are, I would never succeed in that industry personally. Oh my gosh. The attention to detail you have to have, and
Correct.
yeah, like the stress of, the inventory, like the suppliers getting everything you need in time and getting it
Mhm.
set. It's just like seems like so stressful. So I don't know, like wedding planners, I don't know how they do it. Our co-founder here, Lindsay, like her second career, she could be a wedding planner. That would be her. She's very
Yeah.
logistics, everything's got a plan, a 24-step plan. And so that would be her second career, I think. So yeah, I mean, okay, so all those experiences, as you said, shaped you into a more disciplined and strategic business owner, pushed you to
Mhm.
become more organized, have stronger systems, lead with greater confidence. Big, big lessons there. I mean, and you're only 19
Yes.
years old, so
Mhm.
that's a lot. I mean, I don't know what else you could learn that much real life experience from. Like that is just
Mhm.
super, man. Like I said, could be several episodes in one here, but
Yeah,
we'll
for
move
sure.
on. Thank you for going into detail about all those things, and
Mhm.
and admitting your mess ups here and there. Like you said, you
Yeah,
got to learn
for
from
sure.
something.
Hi, this is Arianna, founder of RA's Designs, and thank you so much for listening to my story today. RA Designs is an all-in-one event and design business focused on creating meaningful and unforgettable experiences through event decor, florals, rental, and more. Some of my favorite creations right now are our luxury floral bouquets, custom event setups, and elegant celebration designs. A big inspiration behind my work comes from bringing people together and turning special moments into lasting memories. Thank you again for listening and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Okay, are you ready to build for the future
Mhm.
with your Capri Sun there? I love it.
Yes.
It's been too long since I had a Capri Sun. Man, stabbing the straw in the, except when you stab it all the way through. I don't
Oh,
stab
yeah.
it all the way through to the back by accident. Got to
It
be careful.
happens. Been there.
Um, so been there. We've all been there.
Hmm.
Learning, learning as we grow here with Capri Suns.
For sure.
So our last section. So we talked about, I would say kind of the hard skills, if that's how you want to put it, like all the, having contracts, the professionalism, the, sounds like a lot of scary things in business,
Hmm.
um, which are so important. And then obviously we want to complement that with, maybe the fun, fluffy, frilly sides of being a founder, like inspiration and creativity, which are obviously huge in what you do. So you mentioned in your story, how you gain inspiration through things like staying open minded, being intentional in your daily routine, in that as a creative, a lot of your inspiration just comes from observing things around you, paying
Hmm.
attention to the details of everyday life, which is great to imagine. I just picture you either walking around Troy or like a beautiful venue or a vacation, and like I'm sure you notice lots of things
Hmm.
that stand
Yeah.
out to you of like, oh, that detail is really cool, or like I like how they did that. Yeah, what are you zooming in on day to day as you walk around or drive around or whatever it is? Like what things do you notice? Um, what elements of your routine are important for your creativity? Do you have anything that's like a mentor or a role model or a main inspiration for your work?
Yes, so more like of a day to day that keeps me more motivated is doing what I love to do, which is the florals, event planning, and stuff. But behind all of that, I also like to take time to myself and develop more of my mindset. I like to listen to
Mm,
podcasts and motivational videos while I'm working too. I always like to put some
yeah.
background podcasts or anything. And I actually listen to a specific person called his name in Spanish is Carlos. Carlos is a multi-millionaire. He actually is the one that, like I mentioned back, my mom took a trip to China. So she was
Yeah.
actually able to actually meet him in person and take that business trip. And the event that they attended in China was, the names in Spanish is La Feria de Canton.
Oh.
So it's like a big, big, big festival where all of the manufacturers are there. So that was honestly, he's one of my biggest inspirations too. He does a lot of, he's more on like on the
Huh,
entrepreneurship side, and seeing like someone
sure.
that is also like, he didn't come from like a family, that was able to really help him. So seeing
Mm,
him grow his business and the entrepreneurship side, that really inspires me
yeah.
day to day, because I feel like I can take Ari's designs to something more big, something similar to his. We don't specialize in the same thing, but it's kind of almost the same thing. And in the future, obviously, I would love to be involved with like more supply chain manufacturers and being able to sell global. So that's honestly one of my
Wow.
day to day like motivation, is to be able to keep working hard, keep learning, and having that open mindset, like that anything is possible.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people sometimes have like bad days even when they're working, and I think that not giving up is one of like my main goals, is not giving up and
Yeah.
being able to work hard.
Gosh, do you ever feel any kind of, I guess burnout is kind of the, classic word used for, running a million miles an hour and maybe getting
Mhm.
tired, or as a student, as, just life, other things, because there's other things besides just being a student and being a business owner. You have family, you have whatever it is. I don't know, do you get a sense of that ever, like burnout, or is it kind of like you feel well fed and well motivated enough to kind of keep going?
Some days, rarely, like some days do feel burnout. And when it's not the case, I always like to take my time, a day off, because it's not all about also working hard. Like, I think I also like to
Yeah.
prioritize my health, because if I'm not healthy,
Yeah.
then I'm not able to work. I'm not able to, you know, live longer, if that makes sense. So I always like to prioritize that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
I also like to take time to myself, and it's not, like I said, all about working and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do
Yeah,
experience
totally.
burnouts too. I think it's normal, but the way how we manage that and take care of that is like really important.
And you're only a freshman in college, and I don't think I had ever, maybe it wasn't as like popular of a term, but that would have been 2016-ish. But I don't think I ever even heard the word burnout. I don't think I ever thought about like what balance looks like in my day or like time management. I don't know. I don't know if it's like younger people are getting wiser with like each generation. I think they are in a way. A lot of people say watch out for this generation, bad news.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Everyone that I talk to on this show is a college student and not even 22 years old yet, and like they have such a wise outlook on like
Mhm.
how to stay balanced in life. what things to avoid, like how to recharge themselves, just being mindful. So you just seem really ahead of the game, like not going a million miles an hour to burn yourself out, which I feel like is more of a old school, like classic approach to entrepreneurship. You know, just like no sleep, ramen noodles all the time until
Yeah,
we're
I was also
a
gonna
billionaire.
mention that.
You know,
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
mention that a lot of
yeah.
times people don't have time to eat because they're working. But if you're not healthy, if you don't have something in
Hmm.
your system, then you're gonna be sick, and that's not something good. Like, that's why I say like having a good mindset. Like, maybe waking up a little bit extra early to eat breakfast. I don't skip breakfast, and I always try to eat healthy because I know sometimes with, especially in entrepreneurship side, you don't have time to cook or, eat something healthy.
Hmm.
So a lot of my time, I do a lot of traveling because of event planning. So with traveling, that means a lot of
Yeah.
fast food. So I always try to avoid that and, maybe choose a little bit healthier option, in school too. Like I know,
Yeah.
going there and there and having cravings for fast food. But if we keep consuming that, we're in the future it's gonna affect us. So that's what I'm saying, like having a good mindset too in every aspect of the way, health, physical too. I
Yes.
go run every single morning, not every single morning, but 4 times a week. I try to drink enough water. I
Wow.
try to, cut out all of the junk food, fast food, and, prioritize health is really
Uh-huh.
important too in the future, because
Yes.
I want to be mentally good. If I want to keep working, I love working. So if I want to keep working and live long and live a good life, and I just need to prioritize myself as an entrepreneur too.
Wow. Oh man, well said. That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, so wise, so mature. But Chipotle is our go-to fast food on the road. It just doesn't. It's pretty healthy. I don't think there's any. I think Chipotle is pretty good. Not that we travel a whole lot, but when we do,
Yeah.
it's funny. We have a Chipotle next to our house here in
Hmm.
Charleston, and we've never gone to it. It's like a 2-minute walk away, and but
Hmm.
when we're on the road, we're always like Chipotle. Where's the nearest Chipotle?
Hmm.
It's like kind of our road trip food, which is kind of funny. Trying to avoiding other worse fast food. You'd be a good fit for speaking of podcasts. Used to listen to this one all the time. I don't listen to it as much anymore, but it's called Good Life Project,
Hmm.
and it's mostly founder oriented. So he'll have business owners on there, and just talking about all this stuff that like goes into balanced life and like what it means to live a good life.
Hmm.
What is his name? I think it's like Jonathan something, but it's an orange cover, Good Life Project. I would really recommend that. And there were some stories on there that I did hear in college as I really got into podcasts and like this stuff, my junior, senior year. There were some real warning stories I heard about like what to not do, like founders who
Yeah.
work so hard. And then there was this one I always remembered. His name was Michael something, and he was like young 20s, had a really successful business going, got like a lot of investor money, and he wasn't sleeping, like he wasn't ever stopping. And then one day in the office, he was like going to refill his water bottle, and his like something crazy happened where like his spine just like gave out or something like that, like
Hmm.
where, and then he just like collapsed. He was like collapsed on the ground and then had to like rehabilitate himself back and back, and then eventually
Hmm.
ended up starting like more of a health focused business about like
Hmm.
wellness and things. And just to think, like, man, like to think that you could be in your early 20s and see those like dollar signs
Yeah.
and almost be a millionaire, and then like you just it overtakes you, and but no, your body will give out eventually. Last question here before we move on to our signature making it creative question. I mentioned Julia Kelly was our last feature, and so student made was a big part of this for her. So I don't know how much student made like influences your vision for the future. I think you have a pretty set vision of what you want Ari's designs to be, but like for
Hmm.
her, she wanted to continue this boutique concept down the road, feature other entrepreneurs, kind of like a student made type of model. And it was just cool seeing what people envision down the road for their business, and she wants to do this full time. I imagine you're going to try to do this full time right out of college. I don't see why you
Hmm.
wouldn't. So tell us a little bit more about the details you were going into earlier about like wholesaling and sourcing and kind of the whole global influence of your
Yeah.
business. What does this ideally look like, say 10, 15 years down the line?
Yeah, so continuing Ari's designs as a like I want to create it as a global brand to where I'm able to provide a online store and in-person store where I can supply other event planners with like the curtain drapings, centerpieces, and tablecloths, runners, chairs, anything that someone would need to start a event planning business. Because I want to be able to providing wholesale and bulk size, not only in the U.S. but globally, in other